Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew Allen, and welcome back to the Whatta podcast. It is 6:30 a.m. the Sunday before this video comes out, and I need you to know that I've been delaying starting the video for two reasons. I will get to the second one in a moment, but the first one is that I've been enjoying my gravelly morning voice because I was able to sit around and sound like the guy from Nope. Who I don't know his name. I'm gonna Google it real quick, so that everyone else can go find him too. But he has a voice like he has smoked cigarettes since birth. Michael Wincott. Michael Wincott, that is his name. And I've just been sitting around doing the worst imitation of his voice when he starts to sing the one-eyed, one-horned flying purple people eater thing. He's just like, it's a one-eyed, one-horned flying purple people eater. I've just been sitting around doing that, and getting easily distracted, which happens. It happens a lot. There are no thoughts behind my eyeballs. Nothing at all. The other reason is because I have awoken at this early, ungodly hour, with an inability to sleep. That was partly my own fault. I woke up. Oh my god, my alarms are still on. Oh, no. I'm awake. I promise. So, I fully 100%, right? I don't sleep on a bed. I sleep on an air mattress, right? But it's one of those fancy ones. First off, don't do that at home. Don't get a real bed, everyone. But first off, it's one of those fancy ones, right? Where it's like, oh, if you leave me plugged in, I have sensors, and if I feel that the air is starting to deplete, I'll fill back up, right? That's the whole gimmick. It's like, oh, if leave me plugged in, I have sensors that'll fill the bed back up while you're sleeping, so that you don't wake up in a deflated bed. And I was like, I mean, okay, I was like, that makes sense. I've just blanked out on what I intended to do. I'll get back to it. But because of that, right, I'm a bad sleeper. I also should probably switch what end my head is at, because I've been putting my head at the end that is the head end, right? Because it's got a little pouch and stuff for to hold your phone or whatever, right? That's where my head has been, but that's also where the valve is, the intake valve, that will just turn on in the middle of the night because it's like, the air is depleting. Don't mind me. Just gonna, So I got really just annoyed. I was really fed up with it. I was fed up with a multitude of things the previous night of recording this, not the previous night of its release. Or I might be fed up with some things at the previous night of release. I'll find out later. But I just got really annoyed with it, and so I just kind of gave up. And I was like, fine. Gosh, I'll just do this. And so I unplugged it. And that was a bad decision. It was a bad decision because then when I woke up at 4:30, concaved into the center of my bed because it was slowly deflating around me. And I just kind of went, oh, okay, that's not fun. Now, I've sat and I've thought on it, and I've realized that a air mattress that has a pump that will just activate on its own when a sensor tells it to intake air because it's deflating probably also means that that pump is just kind of maybe open at all times, and will thus also just let go of air as well. Because I was just there, and I was on it, and I was like, oh, this is awful. I was like, how did I end up in this precarious existence in which this is how I have awoken in my sleeping? I was like, I don't like this. So I rolled out, I refilled it with the air that it needs, and then I like laid back on it, but then I was like, no, it's too late. I've lost the ability to sleep, essentially. And I just had to accept that. And I was like, it happens. Oh, what am I doing? If you can't hear it, I am clicking and clacking with a click-clack paddywhack. Give a dog a bone. No. I'm click-clacking over here on this end because I forgot to log a thingamabobber that I need to log. I was doing a whole lot of homework yesterday. That's what I watched. All that heaven allows. I was writing an essay while also letting movies play for a class that I have. And I forgot to log one of them. I use Letterboxd, like every other film nerd ever. I use Letterboxd. As we all know, because I often read from it. Was that Rock Hudson? Wait a minute. Oh, so that's the titular Rock Hudson. I always hear the tales. Anywho, back to what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh, yes, I awoke and it was deflated, and then I kind of gave up on sleeping, which then led me to doing the thing that was the secondary reason for me being up this early and recording the podcast, even though I could have just done nothing, but I have things to do, was I started to prune my camera roll. I don't know how many people have ever done that, and I'm not one to get rid of, like, photos, like this, like things that I've taken, but I have a plethora of images that I've downloaded, or they've come from Snapchat, or they were like funny at one point but no longer hold that same funniness, or maybe they were funny in that moment but now I have no idea what they mean. And I'm sure everyone out there has some collection of images that exist to them that are also like that you should also prune out of your camera roll. But I was just kind of sort of sitting there in the bed, just repeating one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater to myself as I just scrolled through and would go through like an album collection. If it would be like, oh, these are all photos you've downloaded, and I'd be like, cool, I'm gonna go through those and delete what I don't want. And it'd be like, oh, these are all the photos from, I don't know, Snapchat or Instagram or Kik, because you don't use Kik, but you did a decade ago, and the photos are still there in their own album. And I'm like, why? Who's saving these? And it's like, it's incredibly goofy. And there's albums I've created because it'll be like, oh, I'm running D&D, I need a separate album for this information. Or it's like, oh, I have the YouTube channel, I need a separate album for this information. Or, oh, and it's just a lot of O's. So many O's. So I just started going through it. And I think I made it through like 2 albums before I had to stop, because I said I could be consumed with deciding what is or isn't worthy of staying. I was like, I could easily be consumed. I was like, that's wild. I shouldn't be. I should just go on with my life. Right? I was like, this is a weird toll that I'm about to take on myself. But so instead, I sat down in my swivelly chair and I said, I'm gonna record the podcast, and my voice is going to fluctuate between sounding correct and sounding a little hot. that was the sound of me getting water on my thumb because I wanted to drink some water to get it back to sounding normal. Yeah, it it'll take some time. This is essentially me warming up my voice. I was asleep, you know, like people. And then when I was sitting there by myself, not repeating the Michael Wincott lines, uh, I was just sort of not talking because people don't often talk aloud to themselves. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. But not always. Uh, so let's see. What have I done? What have I taken notes of? What has happened? Oh, I nearly forgot, which is a little sad. But this past week, after a bout with cancer, Mr. Kevin Conroy has passed away, which is very sad news. It's a sad chunk of childhood for most people, just gone. Um, for those who don't know, Kevin Conroy is a voice actor. He's also occasionally shown up physically in things, but he's most prominently known for being the man behind the cowl. He was Bruce Wayne slash Batman in the original Batman the Animated Series. In Batman Beyond, he was Batman in the Arkham games. He is almost quintessentially when you think of the voice of Batman, you're thinking of Kevin Conroy. And he's done a plethora of other work in his life and other things, and he he was a good man. I'm going to very quickly Google because I'm curious about what other works Mr. Conroy was in, but he passed away after a short battle with cancer, and yeah, let's see. My phone is slow. My phone is slow and I've scrolled too far? No, what's happening? Has IMDb has changed their... Oh, what? What is happening? IMDb has changed the way they've set up on the phone for some reason. I don't know who told them to do this. Wow, that's so much more Batman than I thought. But that's also so much cooler and so much sadder. Like, that means I've heard significantly more Kevin Conroy Batman than I thought. Mask of the Phantasm, The Adventures of Batman and Robin game, animated series. The Adventures of Batman and Robin, the animated... But I don't know what that word says. It's too long here. For the screen. Batman and Mr. Freeze, Batman Beyond the movie, the new Batman Adventures, Batman and Superman the animated series, Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, Batman Vengeance, Batman Gotham City Racer. He was in Jack and Daxter? Oh, that's fun. Max Payne 2? Oh no, I'm eventually going to play that. That's going to make me sad. Batman Rise of Sun Tzu. He was Batman for the Justice League animated series and also Justice League Unlimited. What is my throat doing? He was the Batman that shows up in Static Shock. He was the voice for Batman in Batman Gotham Knight. Batman in the Arkham Asylum trilogy. I almost said trilogy. There's 4 games. Arkham Origins is by a different group and has different voice actors. It's not Kevin Conroy. He shows up as a different version of Batman in Brave and the Bold. Batman and Superman Batman Apocalypse, which is a weird movie. He's the voice for Batman for DC Universe Online. Batman and Justice League Doom. I know I could stop reading. Oh, he was also the Batman for Injustice, Gods Among Us. I didn't actually know that. Assault on Arkham, Infinite Crisis, Batman v Robin, Arkham Knight. Yeah, that would make sense. In Batman: The Killing Joke, I didn't know that one. I did not know Kevin Conroy was the Batman for the Injustice games. That's actually really cool. Batman the Animated Series Batman shows up in Teen Titans Go. Okay. He was Bruce Wayne and Batwoman, so he does have a live action credit as Mr. Wayne. Essentially, he's made his life out of being Batman. I didn't have to read that list to you, but I felt it was my duty to read that list to you because I am a nerd. I live my life a quarter mile at a time. No, I live my life seeped in nerdom. So this passing is really, really hit in a weird way because it won't be the same moving forward. And I know that for a fact. Now I know all of those credits outside of Batwoman are as a voice actor, but it still holds that the same level of honor and respect that in my mind that I think it does in most. So may Mr. Kevin Conroy rest in peace. Thank you for being the Dark Knight for almost 2 generations of people. Now that I've said that sad stuff, which is the worst way to transition, I'll talk about some other things I've done, other notes I've taken, other movies I've seen, because everyone loves hearing me talk about movies. It's a pretty good way to get people to tune in. I haven't seen the new Black Panther yet, but I did get the opportunity to rewatch the first one. Did kind of forget how Lion King-y it is, just a little bit, like certain aspects, not like the plot. Let me drink some more water so I can sound a little less gravelly. But like when he takes the herb to get the Black Panther powers and he sees his father, it made me instantly, like, my brain just clicked in and I was like, isn't this what it looked like when Simba was looking in the stars, saw his dad in the dust cloud? And it had no right to be as funny as I interpreted it to be, since that's a very serious moment in that film. Yet here we are. I had to watch 2 older films for my classes. I watched Bigger Than Life and All That Heaven Allows. Bigger Than Life was a real weird movie that I had seen a scene from. I had seen a scene from it, and I don't know at what point in my life of like scrolling the internet or just existing that I had seen a scene from this movie. But I had. And I also had seen one from All That Heaven Allows, which just confused me because the moment I saw a set of window panes in All That Heaven Allows, I was like, is this the movie with the shot where it's like on the people and it's real cute and then it just pans up and there's just a deer? There's just a deer outside, just like existing, and it's like, what are you doing there? And it is. That's how the movie ends. Oh, you don't. There's no need for you to click. That's my chair. Bigger Than Life is a movie about a man who is diagnosed essentially with a terrible, like a fatal illness, and they give him, I believe, cortisone. Oh, I could be wrong. I could be so wrong. I think it's cortisone. Oh, it's not saying it in this description here. I need to know what drug he's given in Bigger Than Life. What drug is given in Bigger Than Life? I was right. Cortisone. So, he's got a possibly fatal illness. He's prescribed cortisone because it is a miracle drug that does indeed save his life. But the changes that it causes in his mental state causes him to abuse the cortisone because he was just sort of taking it unrestricted and would go ask for... He did a bunch of nonsense in the film to essentially gain more access to illegal drugs, specifically cortisone. And it essentially turned this just well-mannered, like, sheepish kind of dude into this, like, tyrant despot who almost goes Binding of Isaac on his son. And it's wild. Like, as it's progressing, like, you're just seeing him slowly lose it. And I do think it's funny that, not funny, but I do find it interesting that the point of contention that leads him down this path is his abusal of the cortisone. But it just takes him down such a path. And I know the moment my brain clicked in fully to the effects of what was happening with him was he's at a PTA meeting, and he's I think it's PTA meeting. Yeah, pretty certain. And he's talking to, like, all these parents and, like, school board people, and he starts talking about how the way that they're teaching the youth is terrible. He's like, the way we're doing it is not the way that we did it, and it's going to make them worse. It's going to make them worse than we were. He's like, we don't need all this or that. And it's like, I was just kind of sitting there, and I was like, what is he saying? He wants to teach them what? Did he call them monkeys? Man straight up said that the point of teaching the youth is to get rid of the disease that is the youth. He's like, you teach away the disease that is youth. And I was just kind of there like, my boy, that's not how that goes. And then by the end, when he tries to justify killing his son, I'm like, oh, cool, your marbles are gone. But the weird thing, right, the thing that detracted from this movie for me, is that there is a passage of time, right? This movie takes place over, like, I don't know, weeks, maybe? I assume weeks. It has to be weeks. Because there's no way it's any less than that. But I don't want to say months, because that might be too long. But it takes place over an extended period of time. That is the best way to put it. Okay? Extended period of time. They finally subdue him when he tries to kill the son. Someone comes in, they subdue him, they take him to the hospital. And the doctor explains the whole thing. And he's like, we've sedated him. The man you knew might be gone. He's gone psychotic. And the wife is like, okay, I assume it was the drugs. Can we give him a different drug? And the doctor's like, oh no, we have to keep giving him the cortisone. It's the only thing saving him. And I was just there like, huh? And they're like, yeah, it's the only thing saving him, but it's gonna have to be in controlled doses, and you're gonna have to monitor and probably be the one to administer it, so that way he doesn't abuse it. And I was just sitting there like, now wait a minute. She's not staying, is she? But she was adamant. She was like, that's my husband. And her son who he tried to kill, was like, Dad. And it ends on this weird note where, like, they're all, like, kind of embracing. Like, he's laying in the bed, so it's weird. But they're, like, embracing, and he's holding them close, and they're, like, set for this happy future going forth. But, like, excuse? You can't just give me all of it. Literally, this man went down a drug spiral, like, fueled addiction that led him into a mind-numbing, not mind-numbing, a mind-just-altered point of path that he was gonna kill his son. Like, what? Like, he was literally on the way to do it. The only reason that the son escaped is because for a brief moment, I think Buddy, like, went to blackout. I think the addiction was getting to him. And I was just like, this film is so wild. And I was like, I wonder what the other one's about. And then I watched the other one, and I was like, oh, okay, it's a romance movie. And then it got sad. But it also turned back around and had its happy ending that it didn't deserve. That movie should have ended unhappily. Just to prove a point. That lady probably should have died. In all honesty, I look back on it and I'm like, wow, that wasn't a good time for this woman, and her children are awful, literally awful. She's over here like, I've found someone, he likes me, like he's wonderful, and they're like, he's a gardener. Our father was rich, okay? You are rich. This man pruned the weeds outside. You can't date him. And I'm like, well, hold on. Like, what's... Huh? Then I forgot how the 50s were, right? Yeah, I forgot how the 50s were. I looked down to look at the date. And was like, oh, right. This working class man who cuts trees and prunes bushes and keeps your garden nice is not capable of providing or loving for this apparently uber wealthy woman, even though she genuinely likes him and his personality and his existence, and he likes her personality and existence, because her children are awful, and so is everyone else in the community. They're all terrible people. They're absolutely the worst, like 100%. Woman gives up on marrying this man at like, I don't know, two-thirds of the way through the movie, because of at the behest of her son and her daughter, because the daughter's life is being ruined because everyone's like, your mom probably cheated on your father with the gardener when he was alive, and that's why she's trying to marry him now. Which, oh my god, what? Your daughter's in college. What kind of friends does she have that would just instantly think such terrible things? And why was that the norm? Because you can't tell me otherwise. I'm pretty certain it was the norm. So there was that. And then the son was like, you have no respect for father's image, for the legacy he's left that you're supposed to be a part of, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, if you marry him, just know that I will never come back to this house. I will never visit you. I will never call you. And I was just like, oh my god, what? You're all terrible, right? And he's like, you're going to sell the house, this home we grew up in, and all this jazz. And then, like, within a year, like, the daughter is being married off, and the son is getting, like, an internship in a different state. And so he's like, you should probably sell the house, you know, it's too much for one person. And when I tell you that the look on that woman's face as she looked at her son in the movie, I thought that was hilarious. I was like, oh my god, if this movie just suddenly became a slasher, it would be well earned. It would be well earned. I was like, this is the worst kid I've ever seen. And it's not even a kid, he's a young adult. You know, both children are young adults. But it's like, my god, if I made a big stink to my mother, who I love dearly, but if I made a big stink and was like, oh, you're gonna sell the house I grew up in because you want to go be happy with someone of a lesser wealth status than you, who is capable of caring for you and has steady income? Bah. And then within a year turn around and be like, oh, well, you know, your daughter is off and gone married, and I have an internship in a different state, so you should probably sell the house. There's a lot of space for one person. I'd be the worst human being in the world. I would lose the right to be a son. Because why would you ever do that to your mother? Like, wow. But all's well that ends well, because essentially she takes her sad self to the doctor, and the doctor's like, hey, go marry him. And she's like, what? He's like, you're sad. He's useless. He's become useless since leaving you. Okay, he's bad at what he does. Go marry him. Both of you go be happy. And then he fucking falls off a cliff, excuse my French, because that shit caught me off guard, and is unconscious for like all of 5 minutes before he wakes up and he sees her, and he's happy, and she's happy. And then I assume that in the, you know, epilogue of the film that doesn't exist, they went and got married. Because that was just the time, and movies were wild. And that's all I'm going to talk about. I need you to know I've watched like 10 movies since last talking to you guys. And I could just spend all of my time talking solely about films. But I obviously always talk about other things too. I didn't even get to everything else that was on the list. All I did was get through 2 movies, which is why sometimes I choose not to talk about movies even when I've seen them. Yeah, that's where I'm going to leave this off. Sorry, in my head, I went to start the outro, and then I said Michael Wincott again. Which is going to be funny, because that might end up being the title of the episode. I don't know how I feel about it yet, but you guys will know when you see it, if I went through with that. But until then, thank you guys so much for listening for the What a Thought podcast. If you liked it, make sure to leave a like and comment down below. Tell me what other things you're hoping to hear me talk about. Really, leave comments. I will respond to them. I've had one man leave comments because he didn't like. He didn't state that he didn't like something I said, but he did say that the things I said were a sign of just the idiocy of my generation. And I went, oh, okay. I was like, that's not how we have discussions. But let's discuss this. And then I spoke about it. And I don't know if he ever saw that, because he ain't ever said anything since. He probably just wanted to leave his one-off comment. But yeah, do all that fun stuff. Check out the Linktree link that's down in the description. Takes you to everything else. The YouTube gaming channel, the social medias, the Twitch. Just all the good things that you should be checking out. But yeah, I've been Michael Wincott. It just goes returns. It's just like, I've been Michael Wincott. No, I'm joking. I've been Matthew Allen. This has been the What a Thought podcast, and I'll see all of you when I see ya.